Hello, it's Lenny Magill with the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop right here in San Diego, California. And today we're going to take a why in the road from our normal Glock handgun video to the newest thing and most exciting thing in the competition shooting sports. It's called Pistol Caliber Carbine, or also known as PCC. Now, the tie-in here, of course, is that the Pistol Caliber Carbines that we're talking about feed with Glock magazines. Check that out. Boom. And that is pretty awesome. So there's some really nice tie-ins and some really great features that I'm going to show you about this FM-9 so that you can actually build one of these yourself. In fact, we're going to show you how to build this up and make your own Pistol Caliber Carbine very shortly. But first, I want to show you some video that I shot just the other day at a range where I actually competed with the FM-9 using, the Glock magazine in the PCC category.
Stand by. Right, you're finished. Unload and show clear.
All right, looks like a lot of fun, and you know what? It is. Shooting the Pistol Caliber Carbine is amazing because you can actually, and surprisingly to me, be faster shooting the Pistol Caliber Carbine at moderate distances than with a handgun. And especially when you drop a red dot sight on top there, it's really a lot of fun. And there's literally no recoil whatsoever. And that's one of the advantages of the FM-9. Now let's talk about this lower in itself. There are other Pistol Caliber Carbine lowers, but this one, I'm telling you, is the very best. And there's a reason it's the best, and I'm going to detail that for you, and then we're going to show you how to assemble this. It comes to you stripped, okay? Basically, stripped means that it doesn't have a trigger group and doesn't have a buffer tube and doesn't have a stock. However, the pins are included, and the safety or selector is included, and it's basically ready just to build up. So let's talk about that real quickly. First of all, you've got 4 pins. You've got your pivot pin and your takedown pin, and you've got your trigger pin and your hammer pin, and they're all titanium. That's one of the features of this Pistol Caliber Carbine. A lot of you are going to look at it and say, well, it's polymer. In fact, it is polymer. That's one of the advantages. It's polymer, and it gives you less recoil than a steel frame or aluminum frame would do. So think about that. Less recoil transfers to your body, to your hands, hence you're able to keep the gun locked on better. Now, think about this. A lot of people say, well, okay, it's polymer, so it's not as strong as an aluminum piece. Well, this particular style, this particular design has a patented overmolded buffer tube ring, okay? So think about what's going on here. This is actually aluminum. This is a very strong aircraft grade aluminum that is overmolded into the frame itself. Now, it's not just here, it actually goes deep in here down to about here where this aluminum is. And it's embedded in the plastic in the molding process. If you look in here, you're going to see that this is all aluminum right to here. And if you can look inside here, I'm going to get my light out real quick, you'll see that there's aluminum all the way down. And like I said, it goes down to about just underneath the safety, maybe right here to this first or second serration on the grip. So it is very strong, and this is typically where you're going to see some of your failures and your failure to function with polymer, standard polymer uppers, and even some aluminum uppers. As the buffer is traveling back and forth, there's a lot of torque there. And because there's a lot of torque there, that's where you start to have problems. And then if the buffer starts to get any kind of resistance, that's when you have short strokes and you have to start to have some feeding issues. So this has been really engineered nicely by the folks at FM Products, Foxtrot Mike Products, to eliminate that. This thing, I tell you, I've already got 700-800 rounds through it, and I really, the video you saw, this is the first time I really shot it. I shot it just to test fire and get the sight sighted in our range here, but I've never had shot it outside and never shot it in a competition, never tried to shoot it really fast. I function fired it a little bit, but I never really went target to target, and especially, plate racks and all that stuff. So that was the first plate rack I ever shot. That was the first star I ever shot, and you saw, hey, it worked out pretty good. I was fairly accurate. Could have been a little faster. Always can be faster. But, so now let's talk a little bit more about this gun. So we talked the fact that it's polymer. It's a high-strength polymer. Less recoil transfers to your hand. The buffer tube ring here is aluminum. It's a high-strength aluminum that is overmolded into the frame. So it's here, and the people at FM Products have told me, well, you can hang 1,600 pounds off this thing. Well, maybe you can, but who's going to try to do that? I mean, the fact of the matter is, it is very strong. The pins are titanium. The controls are ambidextrous. All right, so we've got, I really love this feature. You've got on the one side with your trigger finger a magazine release, which is awesome. So you can get the magazine in there. Oops, let me get it in there. Get the mag in there, and then you can release it with your strong hand. On the other side, of course, you have another one. So if you're lefty, that's good too, but you can also come up here with your thumb and release and pull it out. Now this one is designed to actually eject the mag, okay? So it's gonna pop the mag out. What's also very cool about this, and these guys were really thinking when they designed this, is they put a spare mag well into the hand grip. So check that out. Now this one is designed not to fall out by itself, but you really want to get a hand on it and release it again with your strong hand. So you can manipulate the entire gun, strong hand, magazine release, or over here, thumb release, and it's both sides, ambidextrous again, to allow you to access the spare mag. So you can come basically back and forth. Now check this out. This is actually a lot of fun. So here's a 33 round aftermarket magazine, just showing it to you so you can actually see something a little different. Come up here, pop this mag out, come over here, pop this mag in, come back, and then I can store the mag back here. So that's really fun too, because you have the ability not to lose that mag. So just switch them back and forth. The other thing I also wanted to know, hey, what if I've got a Glock 26 or 27? Well, 26 for a 9mm. Yes, that mag will fit in there and function. So it's going to feed any of your 9mm mags, and it's going to store the longer ones, of course. This is a Glock 17 mag, and it fits. And the Glock 19 mag should fit too, just like that. All right? So that's in your spare mags. So we've talked about the ambidextrous controls. We talked about the magazines. Feeds Glock 9mm magazines. Factory or aftermarket mags are going to work. The thing that he has told me, the manufacturer, Paul at FM Products, is that the angle at which the Glock magazine sits, feeding into the chamber of the upper, is what makes it really unique. Because I'm telling you, I've had no failures with this. And pistol caliber carbines are prone and known to have failures. I mean, you shoot, 100 rounds and you're going to cough a little bit. You go to any of the competitions, you'll see that, guys are experiencing problems. We haven't seen that happen yet. So, a couple other features that you have to show you here before I get into the assembly. The bolt hold open is a patented concept that no other pistol caliber carbine has mastered yet. This lower does. Now think about that. So when you're shooting, you go through your 33 round magazine, and last round, bolt holds open. That makes it very convenient to drop, come up here, and pop in, and then release the bolt and keep on shooting. So you don't have to manually charge it, all right? Because most of the other pistol caliber carbines are built on an AR-15 platform. When you shoot, you go through your last round, pull the magazine out, the bolt is already forward, put the other magazine in, you got to come back on the charging handle, boom, charge, and then go. Well, that takes time, and also you're taking the gun off of your shoulder, and also you're, kind of having to re-index and all that. So there's an accuracy issue, there's a time issue. So this particular bolt hold open is patented, and it works, and there's two things about it. One, the bolt release is ambidextrous, so I can go ahead and slide that bolt. Once it locks back, I can put it forward with my index finger, or just like an AR-15, come up here and actually press the button and have it close itself. All right. So when it's locked over, now let me show you how it works. So here's a magazine that has one round in it, and I'll go ahead and put it in, and watch this button right here. Okay, does not lift up. That's the actual bolt stop right there. Okay, so you see that? Okay, I want to make sure you see that, right? This guy right here. So it's got a little bit of wear on it because it's been shot, right? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and release the mag. I'm going to show you again. Comes up, okay, does not move. Now, check this out. With an empty mag, comes up, now watch it closely. See it pop up? That's the bolt hold open we're talking about. It pops up because it knows there's no round. So the last round, it actually stops the round, and it's pretty ingenious. And like I said, there's no other lower that's doing that for you. And that's gonna save you time, it's gonna save you a lot of frustration, and it's really gonna just make this thing that much more fun to shoot. And so then when you're ready to go ahead and change mags, boom, you come up and change your mag out, boom, 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 come back up and release your bolt, and off you go, just like that. So it's a great feature, and something that I think is going to really take the market by storm. So this one, like I said, it's got ambidextrous safety, or selector, but it's really a safety in this position. And that's really some of the main feature of this guy. I think you're going to be amazed when you see this thing go together, because it goes together so quickly. Now, if you're an AR-15 guy, and most of you probably are, most of this is the same action and same installation. So I'm going to take a little vise right here, okay, and I'm using a plastic magazine as a vise block to be able to anchor this puppy down and just put this thing here like so I can actually look at it. All right, and I can actually assemble it. Now, there's a bunch of triggers will fit in here. Of course, all your GI triggers will fit in here. But I'm going to go ahead and install today a Geissele trigger because, well, it's cool. It's a two-stage trigger, and it's I like it. I mean, this is a great trigger. So first, let's go ahead and I want to show you one other thing here real quick. Show you my poor man's gunsmith block, just a piece of, or a roll of duct tape. Come up here and I can actually push these pins out. Now, of course, the pins are not going to be too tight right now, but what I like about this concept is that when we push our pins out, they fall into the hole in the bottom here, and they don't get lost. They don't roll off the table, and I don't have to go looking for them. So that's one of the neat things about that guy right there. We don't have to worry about our takedown pins. We're going to go ahead and drop our trigger in real quick. Before I do so, I'm going to go ahead and just look at it real quick, and I do want to show you a couple things. Trigger is going to go in first, right? Trigger's easy, relatively easy, because it's got a spring, and if you look at what's going on here, the spring is going to go kind of like so in the frame, all right? So it's going to sit down. I'm going to just sit it down, and those springs are going to come up here like that. And I'm going to go ahead and capture this with the trigger pin right here, and the trigger pin is right there. So the trigger is going to sit in so, like such here, like that, and that pin's going to capture it. So it's going to sit in right here like that. Now, there's really two pieces here. Well, there's several, but the piece that comes apart is the disconnector right here. And see how that has the same hole. It's going to match up with the trigger pin hole. There's a little spring, of course, so we'll just drop that back in, and there's the action we're looking for. So you got to make sure you get your holes lined up, and they kind of line up right here. But what happens when you put this in, the springs are fighting you a little bit, so you got to go ahead and balance yourself. So it takes a little bit of effort, and maybe I'll try to do it right here. I'm going to go ahead. The pins are the same, so it doesn't matter which pin I use. Most gunsmiths like to take their pins out from the left going to the right, and you put them back in from the right going to the left. Why not? I mean, it's a good habit. That way you're going to be just a little bit more consistent. Try to always do it from one side to the other. The other thing I want to be very careful about, especially with a polymer frame, and even an aluminum frame though, is to make sure that I use the right size punch, because I don't want to get a too fat of a punch in there and pound it in and have that punch expand a little bit and start to expand that hole. And I don't want to waller the hole out, as my good friend Jim Clark used to say down in Louisiana. So we want to keep that hole, intact. So just use the right size punch. Okay, before I drop this in though, and you may want to also consider this, this is a rifle, and it likes to run wet. The thing about a rifle versus a handgun, especially a Glock handgun, it does like oil. It wants to be wet a little bit. So even the instructions on the Geissele trigger say, hey, you know what, we've got some oiling points here, and part of them are the springs. They say just drop a little drop of oil. So I've got my gun butter right here. The reason I like this is because One, it's great oil. Okay, it's high-tech oil. I mean, there's all the great oils are out there right now. There's nothing, that's bad in a sense. Any of these gun oils that are on the market by reputable companies is going to be a good oil. So, one better than the other, who knows, But what I like about this, two things. One, the needlepoint applicator. You can see I use mine a lot. It's a little bent right now. Yeah, well, but it still works. But the other thing is, too, is the oil's actually purple. So I can see it. So it doesn't just run away. I can actually see it. So Geisley recommends you just oil their springs. And I'm going to just put a little drop of oil right here and just put a line up and down. And that's it. Not much. And that's the nice thing about this needlepoint applicator is I don't have to put much there. Now, this will migrate itself around. And it will find its home. And I don't have to do much more than that. So I just put a little oil right there. And if you get in close, maybe you can see that line. See the purple? There you go. Not much. I'm not soaking it, but it's going to find its home once it starts to work in there. So now putting the trigger in is not difficult. This is actually, fairly easy, but it does take a little bit of effort to line your pins up. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the trigger straight in. Now, like I said, you're going to get the lower just like this. It's a stripped lower. It's ready to go. And so any of your triggers will work. So let me go ahead and get everything lined up here. Get this situated. And sorry, I can't show you a better shot from here. All I got to make sure is that those springs go underneath and get orientated properly on the frame. Okay, so I've got it in there, and so there it's going to sit. Now, if you look in this hole right here, that's the trigger pin hole, you'll see that I've got to go ahead and get it pushed down there, and then I've got to just position it so I can actually see some daylight. And now let's see if you can actually see that right there. Okay, so there's a little bit of daylight. It's not perfect yet. And so one of the things, or one of the tricks you can do is you get yourself a skinny little punch out of my punch set and to kind of go in there and kind of get it situated to the point of, okay, where is that hole at? And let's get everything lined up here. And so Now, sometimes you can do what they call a pilot hole, and you could actually put like a small little dowel in there or something just to go ahead and clear it up. But once you start to get some daylight here, then you go ahead and come around on the other side with your pin. And like I said, I'm coming in from the right side to the left. At least get it started here, okay? So now we know that there's a couple things in the way. Just like that. Sometimes you get lucky. So there's the trigger pin. And just got to jostle that connector back and forth a little bit. Now the hard pin, of course, is going to be your hammer pin. And this one has a pretty strong spring on it, so you want to be careful not to get this thing shot across the room. All right, so what I'm going to do the same thing too. Now again, think about what's happening here. The hammer has to have some pressure on it, so its springs go backwards now. Now the thing is you have to put that trigger pin in first because these legs go over top of the trigger pin. And I'll show you inside here. Let's see here. Inside here, I've got one assembled already. If we get in here close, let's just see if I can get some light in there. See those legs right there? And now let me go ahead and pull the hammer back. Okay, the hammer's back. I kind of got in your way a little bit, but there's the legs on either side, and they're going to go over top of that trigger pin. So let me go ahead and get this released as well. And we'll show you that hammer, those legs again. See that's the trigger pin down there, and those legs are right over top. There's a good representation right there. That's the spring we're looking for. That leg goes on top of the trigger pin. Okay, so now let's go ahead, take this guy off my little vise here. And I'm going to put these legs in kind of like so. First, let me go ahead, like I said, and do the same thing with my little gun butter here and give it a couple strips of oil, a couple of droppers, and that'll just make this thing just be a little bit more friendly overall. Front of the hammer, of course, is right here. So I'm taking these legs, I'm going to drop them over top of my trigger pin. And now this one takes a little bit of muscle. So what I'm trying to do is trying to get that hole down to there. All right, and be careful not to shoot it across the room. And I'm sure some of you have already done that before. Just push it forward just a little bit, and there's my hole, there's my daylight. There we go. Again, that's why I like this nylon hammer, because I can kind of beat on it, nothing bad's going to happen. So there it is. That's basically the installation of the trigger group. Not hard, not easy. Once you know how to do it, we do it 3 or 4 times, it's like, oh, okay, this is easy. Now, on the testing of this, you want to go ahead and make sure it's all safe, and go ahead and put your thumb up here just to feel it. So you don't really want that hammer to slam into that frame, or even an aluminum frame for that matter. And you can just let it go, and it feels good. This has got a 2-stage trigger, so it comes back, and then it's right there. So I go ahead and feel it, and bang. And again, feel it, and bang. Feels good. Could put a little oil right on the sear point right here. And that'll find its way around a little bit as I go. All right, so now this thing's ready to go. So I'll just let it sit up there for so. Now let's go ahead and put our buffer tube in. And this is a fairly interesting spot here. I do want to show you one thing that they thought about when they actually built this guy, is that they captured the takedown pin detent. Now, most of you in the AR-15 world will know what a takedown pin detent is. This is the takedown pin right here. It's captured in the frame by a small detent that goes in here and actually intersects with what is a little channel right here. If you can see in here, you'll see there's a little channel right here. Okay, so there's a spring, and then there's a little detent that sits in here that actually captures that so it doesn't fall away. On most AR-15s, and most pistol caliber carbines, as a matter of fact, that spring will come out, and the detent will come out with it. But what they've done here is they actually captured it with an Allen screw into the frame, so that when you disassemble or reassemble, you don't really have to worry about that. It's there. Now, you can take it out by putting an Allen screw in here and unscrewing that and taking it out if you want to change your pin out. That's how it works. But it's a really nice feature to have that captured, because putting that in there and out of there is really, well, it's no fun. It's easy, but it's not a lot of fun. It's just that spring gets all cocky, and if you've done it before, you know exactly what I'm saying. So just keep be aware of, should I say, the fact that the detent and spring are captured by an Allen screw, so you don't really have to play with that. All the AR-15 guys will say, "Oh, wow, great feature," and it really is a good feature. Okay, so we've got a buffer tube, and we have a buffer and a spring. Now, this buffer is unique, okay? It's not a standard AR-15 buffer. It's a little heavier, and it's dialed in to really work with 9mm ammo. So keep that in mind. Okay, so your other buffer may work, but this one is better. It's timed to work with 9mm ammo. The tube is basically your standard tube. You can get either your mil-spec or your commercial grade tube. This is your end plate here, and this could be replaced with one with a single point sling, whatever you want to do on that. It's really a personal preference. Most of you know you want to go ahead and time this thing out a little bit so that it will capture the detent, the buffer detent. So let me get this lined up properly when I get over here and I can actually see it. And there we go. Now, before I get too far, I'm going to show you in here, if I can, that little hole right there, okay? And that is the, let me get some light in there, that hole is the buffer detent. And what that does, it actually captures the buffer into the tube. So I'm going to wind the tube down to the point where it's just close enough, but not going to cover that hole. Make sure my end plate doesn't mess up here. Get my end plate kind of settled there. Now I can go ahead and screw this thing a little bit more. Okay, come on, baby. A couple more turns here. Okay, so I'm going to stop basically right there. Let me show you that again, okay? See how close I am? All right, now, over here in this bag, because I don't want to lose it, is the detent and spring. Now again, this detent will capture the buffer. So here is the detent. Let me get that light again so you can actually see what's going on. Okay, so that's a detent and that's the spring itself, okay? Now that spring goes into the hole and the detent right here is what captures the buffer from flying forward. So it's a really important piece. Simple, but important to understand. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and drop the spring into the hole. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and depress the detent and then capture it with the piece. I'll use a little punch here. Now this one you don't want to lose, so you want to be careful that it doesn't get launched across the room. Let's see if I can get this guy captured right here. I think it is captured now. Okay, here we go. Got it. Now it's got to have some action to it, and it does. Okay, so now here's what it looks like in space. Okay, so that's going to have a spring action to it, as you'll see. Let me get my punch in there, get my hand out of the way. Okay, that spring action is what we're looking for. And now, let me go ahead and finish the buffer tube. Now, it's important that the buffer tube is orientated properly. So I've got it set up to the point where I want it to be basically level. So when I put my stock on, it's level as well, because you'll notice, of course, the buffer tube has this ridge right here. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and set my end plate in there, and I can take this castle nut by hand, just tighten it down right now. Now, of course, you could put a wrench on this thing, and it's designed to go like so. And we'll just get this a little tight here. So we got this on the table in the way, so. Let's get here we go. And I don't want to be too tight. Not for this demonstration. But that's what the castle nut is all about. Like a little castle wrench there, or AR-15 wrenches, basically. Okay, so I've got that set up. I've got it straight. I've got that good. Now we can go ahead and insert our buffer and spring. And this is also, you know, not hard, but not difficult either. So you have to kind of walk it over top of that detent. All right. Now this one does not have a flat spot. A lot of AR-15 ones will have a flat spot that, you know, you want it to sit on, but this one does not. So now I get my little skinny punch here, push that guy down as much as I can so I can get this in here. And then I will seat it like that. And that's how it works. So that's what it's supposed to look like when you have completed it like so. And it captures, that little thing captures. Now to disassemble it, you just do the same exact thing in the opposite. You actually push that down, the buffer is going to spring out, you pull the whole thing out. So that, my friends, is basically the full disassembly of this piece. Of course, the last thing you want to do is put your stock on. This happens to be a Rogers Super Stock. There's tons of stocks out there, you know, and it's really a personal preference. This is one I just happen to have. It's lightweight, it's nice, it's got some single point connections in it for a sling. You know, I mean, you can't really go wrong with one of these guys. They're actually good pieces. Let's see here. Let me get this guy out of the way. And now you have to pull down onto this handle here, and it will slip on like so. And that's basically the look. So we have now assembled our lower, and that's it. So now if you want to go ahead and make the full pistol caliber carbine, look how easy this is. Take my pivot pin out, get my other pin going, come up. This is what you get this, assemble it yourself. Get this, you know, we've got them both on our website. Let me pull this hammer back just to get it out of the way. And here we go, we'll do our pivot pin first. Okay, so that's basically done. Don't want to lose my bolt there. And I'll tap it in. Voila. Here comes my takedown pin, and let's go ahead and press this down all the way. Make sure it's seated. Looking good. And there we have it. Now, of course, I've got a Vortex Viper on there just to make it a little bit more fun, but look at that. So we just now have assembled ourselves a Pistol Caliber Carbine, just that easy. So we've got the lowers, we've got stocks, we've got buffer tubes, we've got all the pieces. We've got the uppers, we've got sights. I've got the Vortex Viper, and also I'm going to do a video on the Holosun red dot circle red dot, which is really awesome, especially for this type of competition. And you can actually build one of these like probably half hour, 45 minutes. So of course now the lower itself is considered a handgun, or should I say a firearm, and it will be shipped through an FFL. But the uppers and all the other pieces and parts we can send directly to you. We do have a California version coming out with a California compliant grip. How about that for you people who don't live in California? Look what they make us do, okay? So we can't put our thumb around there. How crazy is that? And then the other exciting thing is we're gonna have an 80% version very soon as well. So that's coming out for this Pistol Caliber Carbine world. So you can see it's a fun thing to do. It's fun to shoot. It's easy to build, relatively inexpensive. And I'm telling you what, if you're looking for a fun hobby, a great gun, this is it. The FM-9 is the new ticket in the PCC world, and I tell you what, it's going to take the world by storm. So get yours now right here at GlockStore. Thanks for watching. I'm Lenny Magill. Any questions, any comments, certainly email me or call me. And then at the same time, if you're ever in San Diego, come down and shoot. We've got these in the store. You can actually shoot these right in our range here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.